My Tesla Model Y is now 2 years old and I'm going to do the first bit of maintenance on this car and change the cabin filters. So in this video I'll cover what cabin filters to buy, how you fit them and how you update your digital service history. Unlike other manufacturers who threaten invalidating your warranty if you don't pay the main dealer to service your car annually, doing this yourself does not affect your Tesla warranty. In fact, Tesla provide all the information on how to do this yourself in the online service manual and DIY guide. If you've not seen these before, just go to service.tesla.com. So first off, let's cover what filters you need to buy. And of course you can go to Tesla, their filters are £25 each and you need a pair of them. So that's £50 and you can buy them from the online shop. However, you can get cheaper ones. As you can see here, I've bought the man filters, but I cocked up a little bit here. I bought this on Amazon. These are the right filters for the Tesla, and I assumed you were going to get a pair. So this was £15, and then when it turned out, there's only one. So I had to then order another one. And as you can see, the boxes are slightly different, even though they're the same filter. So these were £30, but they are very nice filters. They're a bit excessive for what you need for this job because these are PM 2.5 filters. So if you want a very good high quality filter with the best filtration, then you can't really do any better than this. But there are other versions. You can get a pair on Amazon for sort of £18 to £20 or so, but I'll put links in the video description to these, the Tesla ones and other options you've got. However, these man filters are pretty good value actually for what they are, and they do have carbon in them as well, and they are PM 2.5. So yeah, you can't really get any better. And you also get a little manual here. These are specifically for the Tesla, and the little booklet here shows you how to fit them, and it says it's going to take 15 minutes. So do you really need more expensive PM 2.5 filters in your Tesla? Well, on the Model Y, they've got that huge HEPA filtration system up front, and that's dual layer. So all the air coming into the cabin is already going through that HEPA filter, and then it goes through these internal cabin filters, which sit down here. So these really don't need to be anything special. If it was a Model 3, however, they don't have the HEPA filter up front. So yes, I would put very high quality filters in a Model 3. Or the very early Model Ys in the States. However, all of our Model Ys in the UK have the HEPA filter up front, apart from the new standard version, which has just been released in 2026. So on the Model Y, these internal cabin filters, which are going to go down in here, aren't really doing too much. It's only when you have the recirculation on in the climate that the internal cabin air is then going through these. So if you have hay fever or you're in a city and you want maximum filtration, then yes, you can put HEPA filters and PM 2.5 filters down in the cabin as well. And then when the car is recirculating the air, these are really doing their job. But for most of the time, they're not doing an awful lot. They're just adding a second or even third layer of filtration on the incoming air. But of course, most of the particles and the pollen and the dust is being caught by that HEPA filter under the bonnet. So I don't think it's worth spending an awful lot of money on the cabin filters in a Model Y because the HEPA filter is doing all the work. However, these man ones were only £30 for the pair, so you're only looking at £10 to £12 more for these over the cheaper versions. So Tesla say that the cabin filters down here should be changed every 2 years, and then the huge HEPA filters up front should be changed every 3 years. But in service mode here, if I look at the filter health, both the HEPA filter and the cabin filter are currently still at 100%. And in here, after you've replaced your filter, you can reset the filter score. However, I think that's probably done when we update the service history, which I'll show you in a minute. So I'm really not convinced you need to change these every 2 years in a Model Y when you've got that HEPA filter up front, because that HEPA filter is doing all the work. That's what's capturing all the particles from the air. This cabin filter is only being used when the cabin air is being recirculated, which in my case is few and far between. But anyway, let's whip out the original filters, see what they look like after 2 years and 24,000 miles, and I'll show you how you put these new ones in. So the first thing you should do is turn off your climate. So the cabin filters are in here on the right hand side of the car, so obviously the driver's side in my case, being in the UK. And the first thing we've got to do is take out your mats, and I've got these excellent 3W mats. So if you'd like to learn more about these, there is a video on the channel as well, because you can't get better mats in your Tesla than those. So you're probably going to want a torch, because it is all very dark inside the footwell here, because the plastic and the carpet is all black. But what we've got to do is take this side panel off here, but that is hooked behind the plastic trim here. This trim is different on different vehicles. In my case, it's all one piece. You can possibly take this out without removing that plastic upper piece. Let's just see. Yeah, you probably could do it, but I'm going to remove this just so I don't break any clips or damage anything. So on mine, this underdash trim panel is held in with a T20 torque screw on this side above the accelerator pedal, and then on this side above the footrest there's just a plastic push fit trim clip. And then with those removed, you should just be able to pull your panel down and then remove the wiring here, which looks like it's an Ethernet port. Well, it's an RJ45 port, which is that one, and then this one is obviously your footwell lighting. So to remove this one, you just slide this red plastic clip up, and it may well just come off completely, but anyway, I've slid that back on. Once you slid that up, you can then push the tag on that side to release that connector. And then this one is much easier. You can just push down on the tag there on the tip of my fingernail and slide it out. So with that panel out, we can now remove this trim panel, and you just got to be a bit brutal with it, get behind it and pull it this way. But it is very, very stiff. And these clips are ridiculously stiff. I've got a couple undone at the top and down the side, but if you've got some plastic trim tools with sort of a hook on or right angle, I'm hoping this will help by sliding that in, and then that gives me something to pull on there, because you can't get your fingers under there. But I've got to do this off camera because I need both hands. Right, that's out. That was a lot more difficult than it needed to be. Certainly sliding that tool along the bottom to give me something to pull on really did help. Without that, it would have been a lot more difficult. So there's the clips. That's where they are. And you just got to get your hand behind here as close as you can to the clips to push it. So one is broken there. I'm not surprised at all, because this is so tight. That's probably where the clip is still in there. So you can see the white clips are still on those, which I'll pull out and put on these tags here before I put it back. So now we can get to the cabin filter, and there it is there behind this door. And this version has just got a tag on the end to squeeze to get that door out. This bit of carpet's in the way, but yeah. So it just hooks in at the top and a tag there. Some of the other models will have a screw either at the bottom or at the top, but not in this case. And then there's the cabin filters in there. So it's two filters slid on top of each other. So take the top one out first, and then lift the bottom one up, and then you can slide that out. So looking at these, I'm not surprised the car said they're still at 100%. These are still like new. They don't need changing at all. A little bit of dust in there, but for 2 years old, 24,000 miles, these are remarkably clean. But as I said, on a Model Y, that HEPA filter up front is doing all the work. So these filters are really doing very little. So I'll measure these original Tesla filters and put all the sizes in the video description below and the part number there. So if you're buying third-party filters, you can make sure they're the right size, or nearly the right size. They don't have to be exact. You've got a few millimeter tolerance with cabin filters. Anyway, here's my man filter, and these are exactly the same size. So when you're putting your cabin filters in, you've just got to make sure you get the airflow arrow in the right direction. So that's in the direction of the airflow, and of course the air is coming in the front of the car, so it's going this way. So when I put my new filter in, the arrow wants to be going that way, so the air is coming through the grey side and the yellow side is what's inside the vehicle. So it's going in like that. So when you put the filters in, put the bottom one in first, let that drop down. Got to make sure that tab is sticking out the box so we can get it in the future. And then put the top one above it. And then slide the other one in above it. And then we can fold that tag up there and fold the bottom tag down so they're flush on the bottom of those, on the face of those filters, the end of the filters, and put the door back on. If I can find where that hooks in at the top, like that, and then put that carpet back there. So before I put the trim panel back, I'm going to remove these plastic clips without dropping them down that void there and stick them back on these tags on the back of this panel. So with all these clips back in place, we can put this panel back on, but just make sure you don't trap the light wire up there. And this goes on so much easier than it came off. It doesn't take much to put those clips back in place. So now it's just a case of connecting those two wires back up and then fixing this under panel back. So then we can turn our heating back on, and I'll just turn this down so the fan isn't making too much noise. So then finally we can update our service history records, our digital service history. So we go up here to maintenance, and we can see here cabin air filter replacement overdue, because this car is over 2 years old now. So I can click on that, and this is where it's going to record today's date and the mileage. So I say record, and there it is, 10th of January, 24,066 miles. Confirm. Oops, hit it too many times. So that has now gone off the overdue list, and it's now next due January 2028. So the only other thing you might want to do after changing your cabin filters is to reset that cabin filter score, which is here under the thermal system and on the right. So I had a look at the workshop manual to see whether this automatically resets when you tell the service history that you've changed your cabin filter, and there was nothing mentioned about it. So I asked Grok, and after a bit of looking, Grok came back and said no, they're not linked. This is a completely separate value. So for most people, they probably aren't going to bother going into here and touching this. But anyway, if you want to be thorough with it, then you could reset this score back there, and then that is going to be tracking the health of your cabin filter. So Run this routine after cabin filter replacement, resets the score back to 100%, and we've got to unlock the gateway. So to do that, we follow the instructions, which is the right turn signal, and press down on the brake for 8 seconds. And that's counting down. And then we can say reset. And that's done. And then we can close that. So obviously in this case it was 100% anyway, but if this was any lower, then that's going to go back to 100% and start measuring the, I guess, airflow is how it does it. It measures how much airflow is going through your HEPA filter and your cabin filter, and from that it's getting an indication of how blocked those filters are and how much life they've got. So there we go, that's the first bit of maintenance this Model Y has had in 2 years. So I'll put the links to these filters and any others which I think you might want to have a look at in the video description below. And I'll also put links to the Tesla workshop manuals and any other relevant information. So if you found this video useful or interesting, please do click the thumbs up, that really does help. And if you want to know more about the Tesla Model Y, also in the video description below will be a link to a playlist where you can see other videos I made on this car. Okie doke, I'll see you on the next one. The videos I make on this channel are primarily to help others and share knowledge. If you found a video helpful, please show your appreciation by at least clicking the thumbs up button, and leaving a comment also helps too, as does subscribing to the channel. All of this is free of charge. I do not use paid memberships or Patreon, which is how most YouTubers earn their money. I only earn from the YouTube ad commissions. But under every video on this channel is a super thanks button. So if you found a video particularly useful, or maybe it saved you money or time, then please consider a donation using the super thanks button. You could buy me a coffee, a pint, or contribute to the running cost of this channel. There's over 1100 videos on this channel now, so please have a browse, use the search, and have a look at the playlists.